With Final Fantasy VII Sephiroth recently becoming the latest fighter to join the Super Smash Bros. Series, there are now only 3 slots remaining for Ultimate Second Fighters Pass. And I think I might have an idea of who one of these slots could go to, based on my admittedly unreliable gut instinct, but I thought I'd put it out there, because why not at this point? How's it going, everybody? I hope you're all good. It is Peter Gargan speaking, and I just wanted to make a quick little video throwing out a random prediction for you all. Obviously, I could totally end up being hilariously wrong about all of this, but, as you can probably tell from the title and thumbnail of this very video that you're watching, I'm making the bold prediction that the playable character from Capcom's upcoming Monster Hunter Rise will be featured as one of the final 3 characters in Wave 2 of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Fighters Pass. Let's not waste any more time, and get into why I think this could be the case. The first thing I wanted to address is that many will likely bring up the fact that we already have Monster Hunter series representation in the form of Rathalos being a boss and an assist trophy. This is something that I can see going both ways in terms of whether this enhances my case or hinders it. On the one hand, I can see why there wouldn't be much point in including a playable character if the series has already received some form of representation. But what if this is something that Sakurai wants us to think, and is toying with our expectations as a result? Forgive me for sounding like some sort of conspiracy theorist when I say this, but ever since Sephiroth's inclusion, it got me thinking about certain rules that the Smash community have seemingly established that have been broken after this recent development. Allow me to explain. Before Sephiroth came along, we only had Cloud and 2 music tracks from Final Fantasy VII included, meaning fans reasonably assumed that Square Enix weren't willing to give Sakurai any more Final Fantasy related assets beyond that content. But not only have we now got an extra character in the form of Sephiroth, but we also have additional soundtracks from the world of Final Fantasy VII, including some new arrangements on top. The reason I'm bringing this up is because third-party franchises that already have some form of content in Smash can still see existing representation being expanded upon, as Sephiroth, as well as Ken to a certain extent, has proven that this is no longer unthinkable. Therefore, I think it's very plausible to believe that Rathalos could very well be the same kind of red herring that would make us think that additional Monster Hunter content is not possible. And even then, I think it's safe to say that Capcom will be more than willing to allow Sakurai to expand on the Monster Hunter content that is already present, seeing as we also have Mega Man, Ryu and Ken included, and while I don't know how the process of negotiations generally goes down, I'd assume that they'd be more than up for holding the honour of having 4 of their characters playable in gaming's most ambitious crossover, something that no other third-party publisher has accomplished yet in Smash. If anything, I think the main problem that a Monster Hunter character would even have to face is the potentially fierce competition against other Capcom characters, as Capcom has arguably one of the most diverse selections of franchises out of any third-party publisher out there. This is because characters such as Dante, any Resident Evil character, Okami's Amaterasu, or even Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins are all viable choices in my eyes, as all of those examples could bring something interesting to the table. I'm fairly confident that at least one of the remaining 3 characters will be from Capcom, seeing as Square Enix have had 2 additional characters added from DLC alone, while Capcom have only had Ken added in the base roster, so there's always room for more Capcom characters if you ask me. Additionally, something else that I could also see being an issue that I thought was worth mentioning is that the Monster Hunter series itself mostly revolves around the actual monsters that you hunt, hence the name, and that the playable human characters aren't entirely what makes the series so appealing to its fans in the first place, which is why I think it makes sense that the representation it has received so far has come in the form of a boss fight, potentially stopping there as a result. So, with all that being said, why do I think it will specifically be from the upcoming Monster Hunter Rise? Let's get into it, shall we? Monster Hunter Rise is the next big Monster Hunter title that seems to be Switch exclusive, at least for now. That could easily change, as I have heard that it could be heading to other platforms in the near future, but I could be wrong about all this. I don't know the full situation, to be honest. With that being said, Rise seems to be a pretty big deal for Nintendo, as they have shown to be helping Capcom promote it heavily, as indicated by the dedicated Monster Hunter themed Nintendo Direct uploaded to their YouTube channel, as well as the line of amiibo that has been announced alongside it. This sort of goes without saying, but including a character in a game as big as Smash is also an ideal way to promote it, something which I thought was also worth mentioning. It's more than reasonable to think that it's too late to include a character from such a new game like Rise, as the DLC lineup was decided long ago, but I also don't think it would be too much of a stretch to suggest that perhaps Nintendo and Sakurai got to take a look at Rise early on in its development to see if it was a viable choice for character inclusion. After all, the same thing pretty much happened with Greninja, where they managed to work on a moveset from just looking at early concept art, as Greninja's inclusion was decided on long before Pokemon X and Y's release. I think it's also safe to say that a recurring theme with certain DLC characters in Smash is that the characters being featured are modern representations of their respective franchises and their present. For example, Hero's default palette option is the protagonist from Dragon Quest XI, the latest mainline Dragon Quest game as of Ultimate's release, so I could very well see this also applying to Monster Hunter by having Rise be the main attraction here. Furthermore, the new wire bug mechanic being introduced to Rise looks particularly interesting, as it promises to be an intuitive method of vertical traversal, while also being utilised in combat in conjunction with other weapons that are familiar to Monster Hunter veterans. I think the wire bug is exactly the type of gimmick that Sakurai could implement into a Smash Bros. Moveset, as he has demonstrated that he is always looking out for new kinds of playstyles to make each new character stand out from what we've seen prior. The wire bug itself was actually what inspired me to make this video to begin with, as I instantly thought that it was ideal Smash material when I first saw it in action during the Monster Hunter Direct. In addition to this, Monster Hunter has had a strong presence on Nintendo systems for quite some time now, and I'm actually kinda surprised that it hasn't seen playable representation in Smash yet despite it seeing constant releases on Nintendo hardware, especially during the 3DS era, and it doesn't seem to show any signs of stopping either, with the sequel to Monster Hunter Stories also on its way to the Switch, a game that has particularly piqued my interest, if I do say so myself. Monster Hunter has also become one of Capcom's highest profiting franchises ever since its inception on the PS2, with 2018's Monster Hunter World quickly becoming their #1 best-selling game of all time in just a few months, so I'd argue that it's safe to say that it has earned its place as a gaming icon. Anyway, that just about does it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you think I've made a good case on this matter, or if you think it's all crazy talk. Feel free to let me know who you think will be on the remaining 3 slots. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, see you later.